Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, good evening.
How was your Shavuos?
Very good.
Did you get any? Did you get your fill of dairy? Did you take lactate afterwards? A lot of lactate
Yes.
after Shavuos. Everybody was taking lactate. Yeah. Okay. The theme of Parshas Naso. Naso means to lift up, but in actuality, the Torah portion begins with a census. It's a census of the tribe of Levi and all the people that will be active and capable of working in the Beis Hamikdash from the tribe of Levi. The people who you have to be between the ages of 30 and 50 to be able to work in the Beis Hamikdash. So everyone that was in between the ages of 30 and 50, a census was taken from the three Leviic tribes, Gershon, Kahas, and Merari. The instructions for taking that census for Kahas was in last week's Torah portion, or now 2 weeks ago's Torah portion. And as I mentioned last week, as of right now, Israel is one Torah portion ahead of us. And I heard a very interesting thing that I did not know. Okay? If you're an Israeli and you find yourself in the diaspora for this particular Shavuot, so what do? Because you're going to miss out on Parshat Naso, right? So let's say a lot of Chabad rabbis came from all of Israel to New York to be in 770 for Shavuot. But now they're going to go back to Israel where it's Parshat Baalotcha, right? So they lost the Torah portion. Actually, no. It's a fascinating thing. So by Mincha, this past Shabbat, Mincha, you always read the first section of what this coming week's Torah portion is. Because Naso in the diaspora is taking up 2 weeks, it was last week and this week. So this Shabbat by Mincha, we read the first portion of Naso again. Okay? In 770, there were multiple readings of this because there were lots and lots of people that needed this. At Mincha, Shabbat afternoon, instead of reading just the first portion of Naso, which is normally divided into 3 sections, so the first 2 people, the Kohen and the Levi, they got the normal first 2 little portions that normally goes with that small section of Naso that you read Shabbat, Mincha, Monday and Thursday. The third guy who got called to the Torah, the entire Torah portion of Naso was read, and the Mincha portion for Ba'alotcha. You follow? That one guy was called to the Torah, and Naso was the longest Torah portion in the Torah, so it's kind of fascinating. So that third guy got called to the Torah. They read the entire Torah portion of Naso, and over into what would be Mincha in Israel, which would have been that they would have read the first section of Ba'alotcha. So all these Israelis that came, that were going back right after Chag to Israel, by Mincha on Shabbat, they read the whole Naso. They had special minyanim in 770 that were doing just that, reading the whole part of Naso, first section of Ba'alotcha, so that they were. I had no idea that was the halacha. I happened to be in New York Sunday, Monday this weekend. I was talking to somebody who mentioned to me that he was drafted to read the whole Torah portion of Naso for one of these groups. And what he wanted to know from me was, now that he read it, since he himself lives in the diaspora, he himself was not Israeli, but he was doing this for one of these Israeli minyanim, does that mean that he also now should be keeping, that Naso's gone for him because he read the whole Torah portion? That's what he wanted to know from me. But to me, it was news that that's what they do. I had no idea. You live and learn, right? Okay. So in Israel this week, they're reading Ba'alotcha. We're reading Naso. We will catch up with them at the end of the book of Bamidbar. The end of the book of Bamidbar, Matos and Maseh, we will read combined, and they will read it separately. They'll do it in 2 weeks, we'll do it in 1 week, and that's when we'll become even. So in other words, the Shabbat that they will read Maseh, we will read Matot and Maseh. Okay, so that's just your trivia for the evening. But for us, we're doing Pashas Naso. That's where we are right now. Okay.
Numbers 421.
We are Numbers 421. Sounds good. So Naso is, in fact, the longest Torah portion of the Torah. And what makes it the longest Torah portion of the Torah, what makes it the single longest Torah portion of the Torah, is a very interesting event. The Torah depicts in this week's Torah portion the actual dedication of the first 12 days of Nisan. So chronologically, let's make sure we get this right. The children of Israel leave Egypt on the 15th of Nisan, the first day of Passover. What becomes the first day of Passover? Okay? In the year 2448. 7 weeks later, Matan Torah, they received the revelation of Mount Sinai, and they received the Torah. 40 days after that, technically 39 days after that, they create the golden calf. 40 days after that, Moshe comes down from Mount Sinai and says, okay, Hashem's going to forgive you. 40 days after that, for a total of 120, Moshe comes down from Mount Sinai with the second set of luchot, the second set of tablets. And that's Yom Kippur. So there's 120 days from Shavuos to Yom Kippur, in case you're counting. Okay? That becomes Yom Kippur, because when he comes down with the second set of tablets, of course, that becomes the Day of Atonement. God obviously has forgiven us for the sin of the golden calf by allowing us to have a second set of tablets. We won't bother that there are many different opinions on this exactly. We'll just go with the most common. The next day after Yom Kippur, when Moshe comes down with the second set of tablets, okay, he informs them that in addition to the creation of the new set of tablets, they're also now going to build the tabernacle, the Mishkan. And so they begin collecting all the materials needed for the Mishkan, and they actually implement the building of the Mishkan. When they actually finish the building of the Mishkan, that's again a few different opinions, or when the construction finishes. But what does happen is, on the 25th of Adar, now 6 months later, approximately 6 months later after Yom Kippur, so now you are almost 1 year since the Exodus from Egypt, just shy of 1 year, 25th of Adar, Hashem tells Moshe, next 7 days you will spend practicing with Aaron and his 4 sons to train them on how to do the service in the Mishkan. And then on the 1st of Nisan, which is basically 1 year short 2 weeks of the first anniversary of the Exodus from Egypt, the Mishkan will open for business for the first time. Run by Aaron and his 4 sons. And on that first day, we have the famous story we talked about of Nadav and Avihu, that Rosh Chodesh, the 2 other sons of Aaron die. So you're down to only Aaron and 2 of his sons. Okay, you got the chronology? So we're 1 year short 2 weeks of the Exodus from Egypt. Since the Exodus from Egypt. Now, in conjunction with the dedication of the Mishkan, on that same Rosh Chodesh, on that same first day, the leaders of the 12 tribes come forward and they say, there's 2 things we want to do in conjunction with the dedication of Mishkan. First of all, we want to donate the wagons necessary to be able to carry this Mishkan through the desert. And so they donate 6 wagons and 12 oxen. Each one of the leaders of the 12 tribes donates 1 ox, and together, in pairs, they donate a wagon. And we've talked about this in previous years, why they gave so few. What are they being so stingy about? Could have given more wagons. Because it winds up that these wagons really would not, 6 wagons was not enough to carry the entire Mishkan. So,
They knew that. They knew that. We said they knew that.
do the math, dude. look at it. Does that look like you fit in 6 wagons? Right? You know? There's an organization here in Los Angeles called Eli Kosher Outlet, which makes it more affordable for rabbis and school teachers, et cetera, to buy groceries. You do it once a month. For Passover, they had at very great prices to help rabbis and congregations to get stuff. So we had a huge order. Okay. So, but you have to go pick it up downtown in the warehouse district, etc. So I told my wife, I have to go both our cars. We're gonna have to take both our cars. She says, well, why have to take both our cars? I said, because the 10 cases of matzah alone is gonna fill up one of the cars. So what are we gonna, where's the rest of the order gonna go? So it's like, do the math. It's 10 cases of matzah. There you go. You're gonna need a second car. Okay? So the leaders of the tribes, all they do is do the math. They would have known. But we've talked about that we talked about it in a different class, a different year. We're not going to go into that now. In addition to donating the 6 wagons and the 12 oxen, the leaders of the tribes also, each day of the first 12 days of Nisan, for those first 12 days, they brought a whole series of sacrifices and gifts to the Mishkan. Now, turns out, each one of them brought exactly the same thing. Their gifts and sacrifices were identical. Every single one of them brought exactly the same thing for the first 12 days.
They brought enough of that.
That they brought. But for some reason, the Torah repeats in painstaking detail each one of the day's gifts. Now we know, we've known it from this class even, that the Torah is very picky about its words. One extra letter you could learn all kinds of stuff from, because there's an extra letter in a word. Forget about an extra word in the verse. The Torah adds an extra letter to one verse, to one word of one verse in the Torah, and the result we learn all kinds of different halachot from it. Right? Because every single letter is being counted. And here, we're filling up pages to the point where this becomes the longest Torah in the Torah portion, literally repeating the exact same thing over and over and over again. The only difference is the name. Each section, that's going to start for you if you want to see it. It's going to start, well, it technically starts, chapter 7, verse 1 is where the section starts. But where their actual sacrifices start is chapter 7, verse 12. And this Chumash is page 54 and 55. Okay? And if you start to look at 55, 57, over and over again, exactly the same thing repeats itself over and over again. The only difference is who the name is. And it does it for 12 days, 12 sections. Starts on page 54 and 55 and doesn't finish until page 63.
How many days of offerings?
12 days. 12 tribes, 12 days. Okay? So the obvious question is, why does the Torah keep repeating this over and over again? It could have just as easily said, on the first day it was Nachshon ben Aminadav.
12 including the Levites?
No, the Levites, that's a separate conversation. Go take the Baalotcha. But 12, no, not including the Levites. So it's exactly the same over and over again. That's why for the Torah reader, right? If your bar mitzvah parsha is Naso, you think to yourself, oh man, I drew the short stick, right? I got the longest Torah portion in the Torah to have to prepare as a 12-year-old. Once you get through the first half of the parsha, the rest of the parsha is the same thing over and over again. Just keep repeating it. Okay? It even has the same trup. The cantillations are exactly the same over and over again. What's going on here? What's going on here? What does the Torah want from us? Right? Good question. What's going on here? Let's go back to the beginning of the parsha for a second. And we'll attach it maybe to the end of the parsha as well. The Torah portion starts off Naso et Rosh. Now, technically, what it's telling us to do is to count. We're taking a census. Okay? The first time we see a census way, way back when it asks for the half shekel, it also uses the same word, kitisa. But the literal translation of naso or kitisa is to lift up. That's the literal translation. So what it means, so if you're going to read it with a literal translation, the opening verse of the Torah portion tells you, naso et rosh, lift up the heads of. By counting them. What does it mean to lift up the head? What is it we're trying to achieve? You're trying to bring somebody to a place where they weren't before. It's not just a census. We're not just talking a numbers thing. Lifting up someone's head, so to speak, is to take them to a place where they're on a deeper level. Our natural level is, what's the expression, water always finds its level or something like that? What am I saying?
It goes to its lowest, to the lowest point.
Something like that. I don't know. Whatever. Bottom line is, if you do nothing, you'll wind up someplace.
Low.
Usually low. Usually low. You don't usually roll up. Right? If you do nothing, you'll wind up someplace. Nasa ot rosh means lift yourself up to a higher place. Think in terms of vantage point. When you're at a higher plane, you're looking down on the rest of the world. You see things the rest of the world can't see, right? You see things the rest of the world can't see when you're in a higher vantage point. The people running around the street, if you're 4 stories higher, the people running around the street, if everyone is searching for something, right? And they're going through a maze, but you're standing 2 stories above the maze, you could look down, you see how to get out of the maze. But the people that are in the maze are just standing there walking into walls. So Naso et Rosh means to lift yourself up to a higher state of consciousness. That's what Moshe is trying to achieve. That's what Hashem wants Moshe to achieve with the children of Israel by quote unquote taking a census. Now there's a dichotomy that comes with that. Go ahead.
Why is the translation says single out instead of raise up?
It's the same thing.
Single out.
Yeah.
Goes from
Yeah.
Gershon descendant. Single out is the same thing as raise.
Means to
them?
count them. Yeah. Separate them.
Okay.
Just to raise them up.
And this is starting with Gershon's descendant.
No, because Kahas was in last week's. At the end of last week's, at the end of Bamidbar,
Okay.
it said to do that to Kahas.
Okay.
And then now it says Gershon now, and then Merari. And then afterwards, as you go forward, you'll see the actual census. It starts in verse 34
They single
on the
out
next page.
the
They actually do the
descendants of
counting.
these Three.
Yeah. Gershon,
Descendants of these three.
first Kahas, then Gershon, then Merari. Yeah.
Which become the 12 tribes.
No. This is the 3 tribes of Levi.
Okay.
We're talking Levi here.
Levi.
Yes. We did it in Bamidbar. We counted all the 12 tribes.
Okay.
Remember? We did that last
Okay.
time.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay? What's the biggest challenge of lifting someone up?
Do they want to be lifted up?
Yes, but even more than that, you know what the biggest challenge is? You will never be, because there's going to be a difference in the extent to which they want to be lifted up. The result is going to be that no two people are going to be lifted up the same. Right? I mean, look around this room. There's 700 people in this room for this class, right? You're going to have 700 different reactions. Not everyone is going to walk out of here inspired tonight. And some will walk around, you know, probably 100 of you will walk out of here completely on fire. And probably another 200 will be, oh, that was a good class. But there's at least 200 of you that are going to be asleep before the class is over. Can you hear me okay back there? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay? Right? If you're going to lift people up and you're going to inspire them, no two people are inspired equally. And no two people are inspired the same way. And so if you're going to lift people up, what you're really doing is you're creating individuality. If you're just counting people, if everybody's just a number, and you're not looking to achieve any different, and you're not looking to achieve transcendence, you're not looking to achieve transformation, you're just looking to get what the total, then no problem. The more inspired people don't count for any more, and the people that are totally disenfranchised don't count for anything less. Everybody's one. That's easy. Everything stays the same. But once you insert into this conversation that your goal is Naso et Rosh, you're trying to lift people up, you're trying to single them out, you're trying to make them different, you're trying to bring them to a different plane. Whoa, 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 whoa. Now individuality is going to come into play. And if you think about that, right? That almost defeats the purpose of the census you're trying to achieve. Because when Moshe goes to count these three tribes of the Levite tribe, these three families of the Levite tribe, he doesn't go, okay, you're over Talmud Chacham over there, okay, you'll be two people. You're a dumbbell, you didn't count for one even. You're half. What was it in the Constitution? They counted blacks as 3/4 people or something like that, right? Right?
So there's a weighting problem, as in weight.
Right. Right? So that's the problem you run into. What always happens once that starts to happen? The pendulum swings to the other extreme.
Factions?
Communism. I'm using hyperbole, but yeah. Oh, why should anybody be different? We're coming up on Korach in a couple of weeks, right? Maduat is Naso Kal Hashem. We all stood at Mount Sinai together. Why are we getting this lift, not lift, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Now, what happens when the pendulum swings back the other way? Let's apply it in modern terms. There's a revolution, right? And the revolution screams equality, comrades. Everybody's equal. What happens next?
Heads roll,
Why do heads roll?
because those that stand above have to be brought down.
Well, yeah, but that's just an excuse to kill people. No. What happens? What happens next is once there's no accountability anymore. If there's no hierarchy, there's also no accountability. And the no accountability starts with, well, how does the Yetzer Hara creep in to achieve the no accountability? You know what he does? He says, you don't want to show off how talented you are. That would make you unequal with all the other people. Where does that wind up? You become lazy, you don't do anything. And so, again, to use the modern day application, so the people in the hierarchy who are claiming that everybody is equal, but all animals are created equal, but some are more equal than others, if you remember that line. Okay? Those people then now create 5-year plans to be able to provide food for everybody because nobody's actually working, because nobody's doing anything. Why is nobody doing anything? Because nobody thinks they count. The pendulum is now swung all the way there. You had the pendulum on one end where it was, oh, Naso Rosh, some of us. The pendulum now swung all the way back to, nobody counts anymore. Since nobody counts, there's no reason for me to do anything. You know my famous parable? It's a very, very famous parable. It's not my parable. I mean, I like to tell it, but it's a very famous parable of the king that wanted to visit. He had one region in his kingdom that produced incredible, it was his wine country, basically. And the vintners made the most incredible wine, but it wasn't expensive. So none of them were wealthy. The king wanted to come visit wine country. They were all excited that the king was coming. So they thought to themselves, what's a gift we can give the king? We can't give him gold and silver, etc. We simply can't afford it. It's out of our budget. What is it that we can give him to show our gratitude, our honor, that we're happy he came? So somebody comes up with a great idea. We're all vintners, right? Let's take the center town in our wine country, and in the marketplace of the center town, we're going to build a 3-story tall wine barrel. 3 stories tall. And each vintner will pour into the barrel 1 bottle of his best wine. And we'll give the king a gift, a 3-story tall barrel of our best wine, every single vintner's best wine, all mixed into that barrel. Everyone said, wow, that is such a cool idea. We should do that. So they built a barrel. And in the weeks preparing for the king's arrival, they put a ladder next to the barrel. And every day, a few vintners come with their bottle, pour their bottle of wine into the barrel. Everybody's pouring their wine into the barrel. And they see the barrels filling up. Wow, wonderful, it's working perfectly. Finally, the day arrives. The king comes. There's a red carpet, marching band, all the pomp and circumstance of the king's arrival, and a gigantic dais placed right next to this barrel. The king steps up onto the dais, and the governor of the region says, Your Highness, you know that we're your devoted servants, and we love you, and feel the world about you, but you also know that we're not really wealthy people. So we're thinking to ourselves, what gift could we possibly give you? Since our wine is your wine, because it's all your kingdom, et cetera, et cetera. So each vintner came and poured 1 bottle of his best wine into this barrel. And this is the gift we're giving you, a 3-story tall barrel of wine. The king is in tears, literally in tears. He said, the best gift anyone has ever given me. No one has ever given me a gift. I've received crowns and precious jewels, etc. This is more meaningful than anything else I've ever been given. They're all so happy. He said, I think the appropriate way to celebrate this gift is for me to make a toast with you from this barrel. So they said, yes, we thought of that. We put a spout into the center of the barrel, etc. And they bring their best silver goblet that they had, and they give it to the king. And the king walks over and he opens the spout to get some wine. And a clear liquid is coming out of the barrel. Looks like water. He says, that they all look at, that's weird. Maybe it was settling in the barrel. Let it run a little bit. I'm sure he lets it run. Everything's water. They climb up on top of the ladder and they look inside the barrel. The whole barrel is filled with water. What happened? What happened, Jonathan? You can't guess what happened?
Yeah, every vintner brought a bottle of water instead of wine.
Each vintner thought, if it's a 3-story tall barrel of wine, nobody's going to notice if I put a bottle of water in. Why should I waste my best wine on this barrel? No one will know the difference. In a 3-story tall barrel of wine, 1 bottle of water, nobody's going to care. What happened? All the vintners came up with exactly the same idea, and the barrel was filled with water. There was no wine in it at all. It's a famous parable. Like I said, it's not mine. It was told to me as a very little boy by my teachers in yeshiva, and I heard it repeated after that many, many times. So I take no credit for the parable. So if somebody's watching this video later and goes, "Oh, what's that? His parable?" It's not my parable. No, it's not. Okay, let's leave it at that. Okay. So the point being that once you swing the pendulum all the way over to the other side, then nobody does anything. Then nobody does anything. So what has to happen is you have to have hierarchy. The shoemaker is not supposed to be the doctor. He's not. But he better be the shoemaker, because if not, everybody's going to be walking around with blisters on their feet. It's not complicated. The barber is not the diamond cutter. He's not. But if we have no barbers, everybody looks like a churban. So we have to have Nesias Rosh. You have to lift up the head. And in the context of lifting up the head, meaning you have to excel at who you are. But in the process of excelling at who you are, you should be able to excel in the context of being part of everybody else. Meaning, you need 10 people to make a minyan, right? In walks number 11. This is part of I always feel bad about this, right? We have 7 or 8 here for the minyan. I send out 9 or 10 texts to try to get those 2 or 3 people to come, right? First, everyone's ghosting me, which is usual. Okay. Then I send out some more texts. And I say, we're really tight here. Could you come? Some guy is in his underwear, probably. He pulls on a pair of pants and he texts me back, I'm a coming, Rabbi. I'm a coming. Okay. As he leaves his house in his flip-flops and the shorts that he just dragged on quickly because he knows I'm desperate for the minyan, 4 other people who've been ghosting me for the last 40 minutes go, I'm on my way. So now the guy in his underwear who pulled his pants on and came running walks in. He's number 12. And there's a look on his face. Dude, I was watching football in my underwear, eating nachos. You have a minion. There's a minion here. Right? So the goal is that even when you are participating in something that you for some reason perceive or think, I'm not needed here. I can pour a bottle of water. It's running by itself. Should we go a little more macro? If I put on tefillin, it's going to make a difference today. There are tens of thousands, Baruch Hashem, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of Jews who put on tefillin today. If I don't put on tefillin, it's not going to make a difference. It's the same thing. How many times can Hashem listen to Kriya Shema in one day? How many times can Hashem listen to Kriya Shema in one day? Millions of Jews all over the world, all saying Kriya Shema. Exact same thing. Shema Yisrael, Shema Elokeinu, Shema Echad, Ve'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha, b'chol levav, b'chol nafshecha middacha. Yeah, enough already. Enough already. Hashem says, I already know it by heart, listening to you talk, say it over and over again. No. So the goal of Naso et Rosh, the goal of lifting up your head, the goal of being able to be the best you is to be able to bring that best you into the things that look like nobody cares because you look like just another guy doing it. So to go back to the minion analogy, you have a room full of people in shul. They're all davening the Amidah. And there's an incredible power to the fact that they're all reading exactly the same words. And yet simultaneously, each one of them is having a unique individual experience. They're all reading exactly the same words. Let's even assume for a moment, because let's be honest, most of us, not a lot of us, don't really know the meaning of the words, etc., that we're reading, unless you're reading it in the English. Okay? But let's assume for a moment you understand the meaning of the words. So you're reading the words of the Amidah, you understand what they mean, and everybody else is reading the words of the exact same Amidah, with the exact same words, with the exact same understanding, and yet your Amidah is a completely different experience. If you were able to see what's going on, it's a kaleidoscope of light where no two of us is shining the exact same color of light. Even though we're all technically reading the same thing. That's when you've really experienced Naso et Rosh. You've lifted up the head. Even though it looks like even though you might think you're not. Yes. You're adding value, even though you might look at this and go, what value did I add? There's already 10 men here. There's already 10 people saying the Amidah. All we really needed was a minion. We only need 10. So what value am I adding? But the truth is you are. And so the leaders of the tribes, following that theme, say, we have a message we need to teach everybody else. And what's that message? Yeah, we're the leaders. Yes, there has to be a hierarchy, and we're the leaders of the tribes, and therefore we're taking a leadership role here. And because of that, and you have to remember, you look in the Mefarshim, one of the things that the Medrash says is that the names of the tribes, and by extension, actually the names of the Nesiim, there's two things in every single one of them. One is every single one of them, and the Medrash goes through each one and interprets it. One of them is every single one of the names is talking about the Geula, about the coming of Mashiach. The second is every one of those names is talking about how amazing the Jews are.
Sorry, which names?
Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, each one of them.
Which one is right?
Yes. And the Medrash even goes so far as to say the names of the leaders of each tribe. How it has that meaning too. But it starts off talking about the names of the tribes themselves. That the names of the tribes are listed here in Pashat Naso. Each one of them is about the Geula. Each one of them is about the praise of the Jewish people. The Rebbe has a famous mimer on Asher on the 11th day, which we're touching on some of those themes here tonight.
Do you know? Do you remember by heart some?
Asher?
No, there's some of the names of the tribes.
Asher, Asher Mshkochalo, Asher Mshashem Alekov. That's the, which we see in the Ashrei. Is the name Asher, that's the praise of the Jewish people. And
Any of them about Mashiach? Which one of
the
them? How they
Asher
differ?
is, one second, I'll tell you the pasuk about Asher.
Or any of the other ones? That,
I can give you Asher. Asher, I know where it is, I know where to find it. One second. Here we are. V'ishru eschem kol hagoyim. It's a verse from should see here where it's from. So the verse about Mashiach on Asher is V'ishru eschem kol hagoyim. And then when Mashiach comes, all nations will praise Ishru you. They'll all praise you. Kisi atem eretz chayfetz amar Hashem tzavokes. Because you will be like a desirable land, says Hashem.
where's that verse from? That's a verse from the Torah?
No, Navi.
Oh, Navi.
Yeah. I'm trying to look for the footnote here that tells me where this pasuk is from. Should say it here. He didn't write where it's from. I don't know why. Usually he gives a footnote, a source. He didn't put it in here. Not sure.
Later.
Yeah. Okay. So the bottom line is that each one of them, they're all on the same theme. It's all about Mashiach, all about the praise of the Jewish people, but each one of them is different. There's 12 different names, 12 different tribes. So what they're trying to show to their people is, can you imagine? Now you're into the third or fourth day of Nisan. It's the same thing over and over again. And when the fourth tribe comes up, maybe that tribesman says, it's kind of boring. How about you shake it up a little bit? Maybe add a lasagna or something. Maybe sushi to your gift to the Beis HaMikdash. Well, let's get some individuality in here, Let's show who we are. Same exact thing. Karas kesef achas shleish r'meyom mishkalam mizagachot kesef shim shekel v'shekel hakodesh. The same thing over and over again. Are you kidding? You think we picked you to be the leader of our tribe to just do the same thing that the other guys did? A little bit of creativity here. Just think about this. There were 12 flags, one for each tribe. Each tribe had their own flag, their own colors. No two tribes had exactly the same color. they all matched the 12 stones that were in the Kohen Gadol's breastplate. Each one had a different stone. I didn't even know there were 12 different colored stones. Did you know that? I didn't know that. But each of the 12 stones has a different color.
What do you mean? You're being funny?
No, I'm serious.
What do you mean? They all have 12 stones? Of course they have different colors. What do you mean?
How many different blues are there? How many different reds are there? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
They're not different blues, but there are different colored stones for each tribe, right?
So if each stone is a different color,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So at least 2 or 3 of those are in the blue family.
Right.
So I'm saying.
Okay.
But no, they were unique colors.
Yeah.
They were unique colors. Each one was a unique color. That's amazing.
So how do we? What's the
But the
connection?
Torah says, no, we're going to repeat it over and over again so that you get the message that when you come to the minyan, you're special.
What's the connection of that with the Naso raise your head?
Because once you raise the person up, you have this conflict.
First raise your head up, and then
Become part of everybody and make what when you're becoming part of everybody unique and special. I don't know what it is. Make when you're becoming part of everybody unique and special. Come to shul, say the same Amida as everybody else, be number 16, not number 9 in shul. So what? You're still special. You're number 16 in shul, and you're repeating the same words, with the same Amida, with the same tefillin on. No. Yes and no. Yes, it's the same tefillin. Yes, it's the same Amida. Yes, you're part of one whole group, and our voices are going up. Okay, get me the food, please.
You're special, Rabbi.
Trying to get one of the.
Was
You're
can
trying
ich
to be-
tun?
You're trying to be one of us, but you're
Was
special.
can ich tun? What can I do? Hello. Yeah, Baruch Hashem, you're on YouTube. Yes.
If one says the Amidah absent-mindedly,
Right?
his head is elsewhere.
Right.
Did he say the Amidah?
Of course he did.
Oh, he did?
He did.
Should he start all over?
No. Because who says the second time around he's going to do it any better? Then his brachas are in vain.
Can you say maybe that's kind of like the person who puts on tefillin without any kavanah in the farmer's market? Maybe? Sort of?
Yeah, but we're all that. We all suffer from that problem. Most of us can't make it through the Amida with.
I can.
Good for you.
No, I can't. And when I catch
I,
myself,
I wish I do. I wish I was able to.
yeah, because when I catch myself,
By the time I finish the Amida, I've solved most of my problems for the day.
oh no,
Okay, what do you do when you catch yourself?
I go back. Where and I start all over. If
I don't know.
If I say Shema Kolel,
So Chassidim say no. Just keep going. Don't worry about it. You'll get it next time. Get you next time. That's what Chassidim say. That's what we were taught.
It's really saying what we've talked about before, like bring down your ego and then come with humility.
Make yourself humble and then incorporate your ego.
But this we're starting with Naso here first.
Because you're going to have to soar to be able to bittel. You see, that's the thing. Soaring is actually bittel.
Raising yourself up.
Sure. If you're raising yourself up with your ego, then what did you do? No, raising yourself up is the bittel.
Raise yourself up.
But then once you're in a state of bittel, you can look around and it smells. You can smell everybody's non-bittel. So now you're trying to figure out, how do I fit in? Check me out. I'm in a state of bittel. There's a story told in the previous Rebbe records in his memoirs of a city where filled with Torah scholars, but very self-aware people, very self-aware. And there was one of the Torah scholars who was more of a Hasidic bent, And he realized that while these people are all Torah scholars, they're all sort of egomaniacs. Each wants to show off, okay? So he walked over. The guy who was the gabbai was a relatively simple man. So he didn't realize that this guy's a wise guy who's playing a trick on him. He walks up to the gabbai and he tells the gabbai, listen, when you're calling up Maftir, make an announcement. Today, Maftir is going to the humblest person in the entire congregation. Today, Maftir is being honored. We're giving the honor of Maftir to the most humble scholar in our whole congregation. This guy didn't realize what he was doing. He stands up and he makes the announcement. And there's a stampede for the bima. The wise guy was like laughing. No, it starts with bittul. Always starts with bittul. The first lift up is always bittul. But your bottom line is, come to shul. Be part of it. Or make sure you're putting on tefillin at home even. You're putting on tefillin at home, it counts. Are you doing the same thing that a million other people are doing around the world? Or maybe multiple millions? Yours is special. The Torah counts every single thing as if it's most unique and as if you were the first one to be doing it.
We say it starts with B2, okay, but I just want to make sure.
Go ahead.
You're saying we start with
Raising yourself up is the recognizing how that Hashem has given you a covenant, that you're special.
Right.
That's bittul.
That's B2?
Isn't it? On what basis do you deserve? It's Hashem.
Right.
And you, dude, that should bring bittul.
And okay, right. And then you count. Gotcha. Thank you.
L'chaim, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming tonight.